Today is July the 26th. Can we really ask God for anything? Let's find out together as we study Matthew chapter 7. So just to remind you, we are looking at the commands of Jesus, all of the commands of Jesus, and we've categorized them into 5 major meta commands. The first of those was to be saved. The second was to share the gospel. Now we're looking at the command to become like Jesus. The next meta command is to behave like Jesus. We draw a distinction between Jesus's character and Jesus's ministry, his actions. And admittedly, some of the commands could fit in either one. It doesn't really matter. We've made these categories. It is simply a command that we are to obey. Today's command is one of those where it's really a flip of the coin whether we make it a behave like Jesus or a become like Jesus. It is the command to ask, to seek, and to knock. It occurs in Matthew chapter 7. Let's just go ahead and read that entire passage. Keep on asking, and you'll receive what you ask for. Keep on seeking, and you will find. Keep on knocking, and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks, receives. Everyone who seeks, finds. And to everyone who knocks, the door will be opened. You parents, if your children ask for a loaf of bread, do you give them a stone instead? Or if they ask for a fish, do you give them a snake? Of course not. So if you sinful people know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your heavenly Father give good gifts to those who ask him? Now, we're in the middle of the Sermon on the Mount, and in the context, in chapter 6, Jesus has talked about how God provides basic provisions. Clothes to wear, a place to live, food to eat. Those are the things that are promised us. Those are the things that when Jesus says, seek God's kingdom first, and he'll add all these things. All these things are enough clothes to wear, a place to sleep, and food to eat. That's all these things. Now, with that in the context, ask, seek, and knock can refer back to the very same things. What can we ask for? Jesus isn't talking about luxuries here. In fact, he goes on and he presents 2 test cases. He says, you parents, if your children asks for bread, would you give them a stone? If they ask for a fish, would you give them a snake? Now, at first glance, it looks like Jesus is talking about some pretty nasty parents. Child says, I'm hungry and I'd like some bread, and the parents give him a rock. Or he says, hey, I'd like a piece of fish, and they hand him a snake. But when you think about it, bread in Jesus's time was made just like today out of flour, grease or lard, and yeast. When it was baked in an oven, it came out in a lump. Sliced bread, we have this saying, the best thing since sliced bread. Sliced bread was invented in the 1930s, so it's a fairly modern invention. In Jesus' time, they didn't slice the bread. They took a whole lump, gave it to a person, and they would eat that lump. That lump could look deceptively like a stone. Fish and a snake. When a snake is wrapped around itself, to a child, I suppose they could look at that, see the scales on the snake, and think, oh, that's a nice piece of fish. The point here is not that the parent intentionally deceives the child, but that the child has practiced self-deception. What Jesus is saying here is, what parent of you, if your child sees a rock and says, ooh, I'd like that piece of bread, would you pick up the rock and give it to the child so he could eat it? If he sees a snake and he says, I'd like a piece of fish, would you take that snake and hand it to him? No, you wouldn't. You would give your child good gifts. That's the point here. Now, there is an extent to which ask, seek, and knock, those are things that we are commanded to do. Do you remember when we looked at the book of Judges? One of my favorite characters there is Caleb, because Caleb was bold in what he asked for. Joshua told Caleb, I'll give you any part of Palestine you want. Caleb said, I want the hill country where the giants live, because I've been waiting for 40 years to get after the giants. Joshua gave them the hill country, and Ephraim lived in the hill country for the rest of Israel's existence. It was secure because Caleb was bold. He asked for something bold, and he was given something far beyond he could have ever imagined. There's an extent to which we can do that as well. Ask, seek, and knock. And if it's a good gift, God will give it to you. In the book of John, Jesus puts it this way. John chapter 16, verse 24. You haven't done this before. Ask in my name, and you'll receive, and you'll have abundant joy. Ask in my name. Ask in my will. And if it's a good gift, you'll receive it. What do you want to ask God for today? Like, follow, and subscribe to this devotional on whatever platform you use to listen to it. Email your questions to us at questions@becomehope.com. Tomorrow, we'll answer the question, how can I keep from being deceived?